Fishes!
Dylan, aka Woogs.
Yeah.
Thanks for. Where did you get the name Woogs?
Oh, it's not a very good story.
This is why we're here.
Yeah.
So what's the story?
Get real. So started out playing music at a young age. Started like playing in bands, and the first fest I was at, just hanging out with some friends, and I think they like, I don't know what it was. They bought something that was laced, and I thought we were just smoking like a Rolly cigarette. You know? And it was horribly laced. Yeah, it was like about like 2 days of just like hallucinating, and I was like very young and very innocent at the time, so it was quite a.
So what was it laced with?
I don't know yet, but it was something hallucinogenic, definitely, and it was like my first experience ever. And
So was it a good experience or a bad experience?
it was interesting at first when you don't know you're going through it, but then it gets like the paranoia kicks in, and you go through waves, and then like nighttime kicks in, and it's dark, and that's scary. Like,
So what is it? What was it at a show or like a festival?
at a festival, yeah. We're just like sitting on the back of a bucky, like just trying to be cool, smoking these Rolly cigarettes we got from like our friend got from some sketchy guy. And I don't know like exactly how it came about, but somewhere along the line, someone was like, "Man, you're wogging out." And then it just like, I was like, "What? I am."
So you became that kid. Hey, it's Woogs.
Yeah.
He's working out again.
Still wogging out from 3 years ago. that thing happened. Yeah, so that's a short story. It was
But wasn't anybody else laced, or was it just you?
no, like everyone noticed it, but like
Okay, well,
I
sounds like
felt
somebody did it on purpose to you if nobody else had it.
Yeah, it's like it could have been one of those friends where they're like, "I like this. I'm used to this. This is fun. Let me get everyone else involved." And
Are you still friends with that circle of people?
yeah, good people. Can't complain. Many good times since then.
Good, solid people. Yeah. I'm always getting fucked for some reason, but they're always like fucking sober.
Yeah, and I can blame them as much as I need to. No, it's like it was just like that point in life. I think I was very young, so very green and very fresh to life. You know, so it was quite a eye-opening experience. Yeah. But like with anything like that, you go with it and you live and you learn and you grow. Yeah.
So you're a DP. DP. So how do you get into that?
I like pretty pictures.
So do you get into like photography first and then move to shooting stuff, or?
Yeah, I think like growing up, like our era, like Jackass and just like kind of documenting your friends skating and that kind of thing was like the cool thing to do at the time. So start out that, just doing dumb stuff with your friends, and then from there, like getting more into the crafting side of it, where you're like, why do movies look cool and why do they look that way? And
why do you switch on your camera and it looks like that?
Yeah.
It looks like a soapy. Like, why does it look like that? Why does it look
like
cool?
a bad soapy. Yeah. And just that inquisitiveness of like, how do they do that? How do they do everything? And so really try to delve deep into it, not just from like a DP point of view, from shooting camera movements, but like then obviously the lighting side is more important than what camera you're shooting on, or just I place heavy emphasis on lighting, which even that took a while to find out. Like, you can have the best camera in the world, your camera captures light, you got bad light, you got a bad image. And then also just getting into the color side. There was a period where I like delved very deep into the science of like color grading, because I was like, you can't fully know you're going to get exactly what you want if you don't understand how everything works in post-production from an image point of view. So it's just that inquisitiveness, and I grew up, like, started playing guitar when I was about 7, and that was like kind of cool. It was more in the audio realm, but learning how to craft different emotions.
Yeah. So what was the first things you were shooting? What was the, like you said, just like with your friends, just filming like little skits or something like that?
Yeah, like that stuff when you're like 13 years old doing dumb stuff. Like you find your like dad's super hot sauce and you mix it with some eggs and see you can drink as much of it. Like super horrible stuff. That.
So what was the first thing like that you shot? Like I'm not gonna say professionally, but what was the first thing that you thought? Okay, I'm gonna try and make like a short film. You know?
Yeah.
What was that? Like, what was that experience?
Something where the imposter syndrome goes away for 1 second of your life. You're like, okay, I could do this. Doing lots of music videos in the early years, and that was kind of cool, but like not narrative as far as in like
more about
heavy
storytelling.
storytelling. Sure, I have a horrible memory when it comes to these.
But-
Some projects is like you shoot it and you move on and you just
Yeah, you forget
survive.
about it. That's done. Next thing. I mean, I started doing a lot of short films like with my friends, and then when I realized like, oh, I can just like shoot music videos where it's storytelling and it's band performance, and we don't need sound.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about sound. The band's already recorded the song, so we just got to make cool visuals and then stick that on top of it.
Yeah.
You know? So that always like saved a lot of time and a lot of more budget, or even finding somebody that is good at recording sound.
Yeah. And that's a huge part. Sound is like, if your sound is ruined, your film's ruined. Like, it's just as important as the like image side of things. And sound guys don't get enough credit. And but yeah, I'd say, I don't know. Like, I really always feel like I need to learn more. So
but that's good. I think you should. That's how it should be. You should want to learn more and to know more, and as you go on, you pick up those tricks of certain things. But then, what was that first professional thing that you shot? That like job or something that you got?
It was actually during lockdown, and just decided it was like zero budget, and my wife at the time, her little sister, like we were all kind of living on the same property, and her little sister's super charismatic, like really good in front of the camera. So we're like, oh, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And it was so basic, but came out so cool. Like, simple story, like even very simple lighting. And that I just really enjoyed, because it was the first time I was like, okay, cool. You can, like, with almost nothing, do something really cool.
Yeah.
And there's been many shoots where you're like, cool, we got a truck full of lights and everything we could ever wish for. And there was something just so real about just breaking it down, where you're like, cool, we got one lens, we got a camera with one light, and we're just going to shoot everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as like, that's only like going back like 3 years now.
Yeah.
In college,
So did you go to film school?
Yeah. I went it's more like, I'd say it's made more for people that want to go into the news realm, and that's probably why I dropped out like after the first year, because I was just like not getting that visual storytelling side.
Woogs is working out again.
Dropping out of tech. We had bets on this. Who had like
we
year
knew
number
would
2?
finish first year.
Probably I would be surprised.
All the lecturers is like, I knew it was going to add up to nothing. Fucking Woogs.
I mean, on that note, the really cool thing is my parents have always been supportive. Like, I even say to them, I'm like, you guys kind of just let me raise myself. Like, we lived in the same house.
Yeah.
And they were just like, cool, we're here if you need us, but like, do whatever you want. And it was really cool in that sense to just explore life. And that kind of led me to where I am now. Like, in a way, like, I look at a lot of my like peers at the time, their parents put a lot of pressure on them to like, cool, you finished studying now, you got to get a permanent job, you got to start saving for retirement, and that's standard like 8 to 5 life. And just having a lot of freedom and zero pressure, like, is really cool, because in our industry it's incredibly unstable, but I think a lot of the time that's what we thrive on.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why it's like when you're dating somebody that's not in the film industry, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not doing anything." And I'm like, "I'm waiting," or or I'm busy writing at the moment. And that's the thing. It's like, we wait, and then all of a sudden it's like mayhem for like a month or a week or a few days, and then we're back to nothing again. So it's that very up and down. But going back to what you were saying before, like we had the one light in the camera during lockdown, and you were shooting stuff, and that's why I always think, it's not hard to start off as a filmmaker in a sense. It's just having that content and making something, and it's always like, use what you have. So if it's like, oh, okay, we can use so and so's house, or you throw in your dad or your uncle or your cousin or somebody, and just to create something, just to make something. It doesn't have to be the best thing in the world or anything like that. It's just to do something, and while you're doing that, you're obviously learning at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing where you must just pick up a camera and get those things together and use what, if your dad has a jewelry shop, or so and so has a petrol station or a building or whatever, go, cool, we can go shoot there. So use what what you can get to, to add that like little production value or something like that, And I mean, the other day I was watching Christopher Nolan's I can't remember the name of the film now. It was like Christopher Nolan's first film, and it was on. I think it was on 16mm or something like that, and I could be wrong, but he was shooting on film, and it was black and white, and he tried to just use natural light, if he's shooting in a in a house or in a room or something like that, and then but there was all these things, and because he was shooting on film, when there was a conversation at the table, he would only shoot the one angle, or he would wait for, instead of doing the second take on the other actor, he would pick out that this line must be at the close-up. So he would just shoot that line and not the whole thing. Yeah. So he was very careful, but okay, cool, we're just going to shoot a close-up for this line, which is what I want to. He was very careful about everything.
Yeah.
Every decision that he made, because, still back then, shooting on film still cost a lot of money for processing and this and this and this. But, he made it wasn't a short film, it was a feature. So, but yeah, it was just very careful how he did. Yeah, how we did everything, and now we have the luxury of we'll do it again. Yeah, we'll do it again. We can just do it again, and until we get the right thing. But I mean, obviously, when it came to him editing that movie, obviously there wasn't that much to choose from.
Yeah,
it was just cool. This is the line, and we just cut this together. So it wasn't a million different angles or so many different setups. So the editor was just way easier for him to. To do what he needed to do. Yeah. And obviously we're spoiled now where we can do take after take, and we have all these different filters, we have all these different things that we can make it look a little bit more expensive, and if we haven't got a good camera. And that's why I always say sometimes, yes, there's certain cameras that we like and we like to use, but then it's also, you can use a camera that you don't like as much, or people starting out, but then you just get a good lens, and sometimes it's all about the glass, of getting that, good glass to make it look, the way you want it, or make it look a bit more filmic,
Yeah, because that's the thing, if your light goes through glass, that's where a lot of your style is coming from, of your image, and it's one thing, I have a lot of even in COVID times, going back, a friend of mine that lectures at AFTA, and he was just hey man, if you got some time, the morale's low, the students can't shoot, can you just chat to them, and just pretty much hang out on a Skype call. And I was yeah, that's awesome. And it was just to try to put emphasis on don't go spend your your college funds or your family savings on the best camera you can get. There's so much more to it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Sometimes, obviously, in those film schools, everybody's trying to make the best film.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to beat the other classmates and stuff like that. And instead of being oh, we're going to try do this, we're going to try, I can't talk because I was always trying to, experiment. Well, you see, when I went to film school, I was already making stuff before that. So I was experimenting and stuff that I haven't done before. Yeah. So it's oh, I'm going to try to do this war thing, or I'm going to try to do this. But some people in film schools, they try to overachieve what they're trying to achieve, and then it just breaks down. And sometimes, it's all right if it's a cliche story, but if it's done well and it's simple, then it's effective, and then it's solid.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't need to be fucking crazy and this and this and this. And it depends where you are. For me, as I said, I was shooting stuff before I went to film school. I skipped first year, did second and third year. So everything that I was doing in film school, I was teaching myself shit that I haven't done before. So I was motivating myself to go, I want to try do a war film, or I want to. There was a location that had inside of an airplane. I was cool. I want to do that. Yeah. And it's just these little things that you experiment on. The biggest thing that I learned when I was at a film school was working with a visual effects artist, because I never worked with a visual effects artist. So I got to understand where they come from and how it works when you're on set and you're talking about visual effects and how it all gets put together. So I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I learned when I was at film school. Yeah,
and that's quite a serious thing. It's visual effects artists, I have so much respect for them, because it's
But you got to know how it works. As a director and visually and with the DP, you got to know how it works to shoot it in, whether it's static or whether it's this or what, otherwise they're just sitting in post going, what the fuck? And they got to rotoscope fucking everything. So there's a lot of simpler ways to do stuff and achieve stuff in a easier way,
Yeah. I think it's so important as well, because even when I started working, I started out like more like cam assisting and just like doing the ropes, you know, making coffee, that kind of stuff. But there was like 2 shoots I worked on where the guys were like, oh, you know, it's like green screen, awesome visual effects. We're just going to put like a little plus sign on the background. Visual effects guy will figure it out.
Yeah.
But he wasn't on set and there was no communication.
Yeah.
And then I watched the final thing and those shots weren't in there. I was like, it's such a art for like us as on set, like crew, to know how that translates to post.
It's a big thing, and that's why I didn't know about that stuff. So that's what I wanted to know. Most of all, I've never been a big visual effects person, but obviously things do pop up, and you do want to end up doing certain stuff where you can take the, you know, like, it's like sky replacement or something like that. You just need, there's certain things that you need to know, or to how to shoot that subject in front of you, so you know you're doing it in the right way, and you know, putting those crosses and, you know, plus signs at the back, because they do that for a reason. They're not just like fucking sticking it fucking anywhere, you know.
Doesn't just look cool for the behind the scenes Instagram photos.
Oh, they got the pluses there.
They know what's up.
They know what's up. They know what we're doing. You know?
Professionals. Chatting about like VFX and how on-set translates to like post, and I think that's also like heavily like a lot of lighting has to really match up well, otherwise it just looks cheap and falls short. And I mean, it really makes sense that you were into that and having like an emphasis on it so earlier on, like when you're still studying, because like there are some things in Fried Barry where I'm like, it just blends so well, but I'm like, did they light that very specifically, or is that like a post-production trick? And I know whenever I'm asking those questions, I'm like, it was done well, regardless how it was done. Like the fact that you have to be like, that is so insane. If they did it on set, amazing. If they did it on post, still amazing, but I can't actually tell. Like,
no, Gareth did like an amazing job with Fried Barry. But you see, the other thing with the DP as well, it's also when it comes to grading. Grading can also, you know, everything in film just makes everything better. You know, it's like, you know, it's the thing sometimes people don't think about. Like, we have extras. You know, just extras just make that world there. Then we have the good actors, and then we have the wardrobe, and then we have the makeup, and then we have, you know, and then we've got the DP, and then we've got the lighting. You know, there's all those things that all add up, and then and it just goes, okay, that's 10% better because it's this. It's another 10% better because it's this. And then with the grade, it's another 10% better. And it's just all those things that top up and everything. So when we see that frame, that it's all there. You know, that frame has, you know, everybody's working, and it's you know, it's all there, it's all added up, and obviously as well as music, and sound design, it all makes, you know, the picture, you know, come to life. And that's why, like, when normal people watch something, they just don't get how long it takes to do a 5-second scene or something like that. Like, we spent the day doing that, you know?
Why are the credits so long? Then you just push the record button, you know, and then it happens.
That's why I remember that, you know, there's people that don't know, you know, they think, oh, that's a good camera, so we'll just get that camera, but they're not a proper DP or anything like that, and then they just press the red button, they press record, and then you know, they'll go, oh, we shot on the magnificent red camera, and you look at it and you go, fucking hell, that looks like 5D. Like, why does so obviously they don't, you know, there's so much that goes into being a DP, and the settings on the camera and the lighting and all this stuff, and if you don't know all that stuff, then it ain't gonna look like somebody that's, you know, just pressing record.
I even worked on a film, and it was like, it was between shooting on the Alexa Mini or shooting on the Red Scarlet. And I just felt like it was going to be mastered in black and white. So looking at it, I was like, you know, Ari's beautiful color science. If we were shooting in color, like, that's the way to go, 100%. And if we're shooting black and white, we might as well like save some bucks, shoot on red. It's still going to do justice, and has like maybe even a little bit more dynamic range. So when you make it black and white, there's actually a bit more to your image.
You see, I always prefer, I've always like shot on the red cameras, so I know what can be done with the red cameras. You know what I mean? I know what it can look like with grade and this and that. I know the room and space that we got to, like, you know, fix the picture and stuff like that. And then obviously, you know, I always shoot with LUTs on the camera, so I'm like, okay, this is basically what it's going to look like, and stuff like that, and you can still adjust it and stuff when it comes to post. So it's I think that's always like a a big thing, you know, to get to see basically what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
You know, with putting those LUTs on and go, cool, this, and I just, because I know what Red can do, I'm just more comfortable because I know what it can do compared to the other camera, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's a very real thing. It's like working with new gear for the first time. It's like, even if you know a camera, you know the settings and you know where to find everything and how to shoot, it's still like, I guess, okay, I was scarred once. I think it was like my first job ever. Someone was like, okay, cool, like, and it was like, still studying at the time. Someone was like, we're going to give you a camera. You're going to go film someone very important, like, be professional. And I was just like,
be professional.
I'll try my best. Like, I'm still a student.
Woogs,
like,
Woogs is going to be professional. He's mugging out again.
And it was, I think it was, I don't know if it was 2010 or 2012, the BRICS conference in Durban. So they gave me this, like, Sony, like, one of those, like, ENG handy cams. And I really want to know my gear. And I, like, get paranoid about not knowing everything. So I sat like for half a day, like doing every single setting. Went, did the shoot, and like I knew nothing about politics at the time. Like went and met this like person, and he was very serious, you know, and like had to like went to shake his hand, didn't shake my hand. I was like, this man.
You were trying to be professional.
Yeah.
What were you dressed like? Were you in a suit, or were you just rock up the way you look?
Yeah, I go there in my like Sunday best suit. I actually have no idea.
Your church clothes.
I mean, I'm a bit like Dexter's Lab. My cupboard is like for the past 20 years, same shirt, same pants, same shoes, and I'm like. I guess it's our industry, black shirt, black pants, black
exactly.
shoes.
I've got like 20 black, 20 black shirts.
Yeah.
Like five blue jeans, 5 black jeans. I'm like sorted, you know.
So even then I was probably professional, all in black, you know.
Just this fucking mime. Just hitting off the guy won't shake your fucking hand.
Yeah, I was like, what did I do wrong, man? And I even remember like miking up with a lapel because it was like me, producer, and then the news interviewer, what do they call that? Like news reporter from Russia 24 news channel. So I was miking this guy up, and all of a sudden I saw a few people like around us, like just looking like very closely. And he did the interview, and I was just like, man, that guy's like, he's a very serious guy, hey? And found out years later, it was like Vladimir Putin. And I was like reading the newspaper, and I was like, that's why the guy was so serious. Like, he's a serious dude, you know? And I'm looking back, I was like, should have just not tried to shake his hand. Should have just not gone there. The guy scares me, you know? But like going back to the camera side of things, I mean, Sony cameras do scare me, and I like do my best to never shoot on them for many various reasons. But that specific model, like I did everything, manual settings, like set it up perfectly, and it had this tiny little eyepiece you look down. Yeah. You can't tell much. You get your framing, and I trusted my settings were all right. Underneath this camera has an auto everything button.
Oh yeah.
So I like took the footage back, and they're like, "How did it go?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, it's cool. Like got everything we needed. Sound was good," and then we put it on a big computer monitor. It was just pure grain. And it was just like horrible. And I was like, oh no. And this was like going back like 12, 13 years. There wasn't like really good like noise reduction programs and like plugins like we have now. And that scarred me for life now. So since then, working on a different camera, like I'll watch the whole of YouTube to watch all the tutorials to know that I know everything. And I guess there's like something to that. You learn from your mistakes. You got to do your time. You got to work the rungs of the ladders because you're going to mess up. Yeah.
That's why I always say 10,000 hours.
Absolutely.
I'm big on the 10,000 hours rule. It's like the amount of time that you spend on being on set and learning and doing things. I mean, I started making short films in 1998. So it's just like when I think of all the films, all the times, all the hours and everything that goes into everything and pre-prod and everything, you know, all adds up to, you know, what you do now. You know, it's all that experience, and that's why I think some people go into the industry, end up dropping out of film school, or end up doing it and then don't realize how much, you know, they just look and go, oh, I love films, I want to do films, and they don't realize, you know, everything that goes into it. And there's a lot. Like with any other technical job, it's the same. There's just a lot.
Yeah.
But it's 100 times harder to get into.
Yeah. And it is like, with technology advancing so fast, you can never really get to a point where you're like, cool, I know what I know. Like, I'm now a professional.
Well, as soon as you know there's the new camera, and we don't use that camera anymore. We use this camera.
Yeah.
So it's like, every year there's another model coming out which is better than the last one, and people go, "Oh, you're still using that? Oh, we use this one now." And for fuck's sake, I'm gonna have to learn, all the new shit.
Yeah, and you've just saved up enough money to spend your everything you have on that new camera.
Yeah. 6 months later, it's old.
Yeah, no one shoots on that anymore. Like, I haven't paid it off yet.
Exactly.
But I guess when you get into the more higher end realm, there's longevity. The Lexa Mini is been here for years. It's going to be here for years.
But I think we've got to that point now where obviously there's loads of new better cameras coming out, but there's still, looking at those first red cameras and stuff. I mean, you can still make a movie on that. You can still fucking do that. Of course you can. You know what I mean? So it's all there's, and again, you can still use different lenses and new lenses on there and everything. So it's still the, you might not be shooting on the camera that you want, but you can still make a good standard movie with it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, that's where people get too, gear crazy. And it's like a good friend of mine by the name of Devin Carter, he's, really, really great DOP. I look up to him and, kind of through the years, just, he was almost a mentor for me. And I look back at stuff, then the Canon 5D Mark 1 came out, or whatever it was at the time he was shooting on. I look back at what he shot then, and it still holds up today, just because he lit it and framed it, and like you were saying earlier, it's actually everyone's role on set ties together. It was styled right, and the art department was good, but it's a 5D and it still holds up today. And every now and then I get a little cheeky, on the lower budget stuff, we've had to shoot on a Blackmagic Pocket Cam. And there's a few shots that have come out really nice, and I'll send it to people and just be like, what do you think we shot this on? And they'll be like, oh, it's beautiful. That must be the red. The magnificent red.
The magnificent red. Yeah.
And it's just about to not get too crazy about the technology, even though better tech is better, but just knowing your skills and how to work it right before you get into the extra bits and bobs.
Yeah, I used to always think it's crazy when you look at some of those old cameras, and when I shot some movies on film years ago, when you look through the viewfinder, dude, you can hardly fucking see anything on those old cameras. It's just you're looking through, it's the hole's so small, and you're looking through it and you're like, I can fucking barely see what the fuck I'm looking at. It's so squinting, trying to actually find them. How the fuck did they, it's almost like point and shoot almost, because some of the viewfinders, dude, you kind of hardly fucking see anything.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I think that there's almost an art to filmmaking in general. You were saying, nowadays we can just shoot as much as we want, go a couple thousand terabyte server, you can just shoot endlessly.
But it still comes down to time. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So you still got to be wary of, the time that you're taking to do what you need to do. Yes, of course we can do loads of takes, but it's still taking time. So you still got to be, narrow it down to. That's why I always think certain directors they overshoot because they're worried in case it doesn't cut together or something like that. But doing that, that's another half of the day wasted just from doing that, because you don't know, you're insecure about not knowing what you want.
Yeah, and it's for me that's a sign of if you have the time on set, cool, shoot some extra shots, we got an extra hour to the day, let's get some close-ups that maybe will be cool. But that decisiveness is almost the mark of someone who's done their 10,000 hours. They know this is the script, we need a close-up here because that's where the impact and the emotion is, kind of idea, or for whatever the reason they have. But it's not going, let's shoot the wide, let's shoot the medium slightly wide, let's shoot the medium and shoot
close up, over the shoulder, and then a wide.
And then there's a week of filming for one scene.
And then a little low angle just because it looks cool. So it's just
a little Dutch angle in case we want to show something's
and that's why I say loads of people overshoot. As an actor, I've been there, and I'm just like, dude, this is the scene. And it always comes down to just two people sitting at a table or something like this. Like, you don't need 20 fucking angles for that. You know, just know what the conversation is, know what's important about the conversation and the vibe of the scene, and then that's it. You don't need to over fucking complicate it. Yeah. And that's why I always think, like, certain editors, like, are they going to see all that shit and go, why has he got all this shit? Why can't we just use this one and this one?
Absolutely. Yeah, like so many scenes where I've looked at them, like, cool, we can shoot 20 different angles, or we could just start wide and do one slow track in and make the whole scene one shot. And that comes in with, like, the performances have to be perfect for one shot, so you're going to have a few retakes, but you're not overshooting. But I mean, something I understand from, like, a DP point of view is, like, it would look really cool though, and then you have to be like, but does it tell the story? Have you already told the story?
Is it moving it forward?
Stop thinking about your show reel and how cool it's going to look. Like, you're here for the project.
They just want that one shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to start my show reel with this shot.
Yeah.
But so you obviously live in Durban now, and here and there you come to Cape Town. Yeah. Eventually you're going to move to Cape Town. Yeah,
definitely something I'm looking at, because it's just the way life has gone that, like, the Durban industry is really cool. There's a lot of people really doing good things, but
it's a lot smaller than Cape Town and Joburg.
Absolutely. And I feel like I've got into a ceiling where I'm like, I can't really push myself or challenge myself anymore. And I really, like, I thrive on challenge. Like, or anxiety, I don't know which one it is. Change is never easy.
You also rent gear as well, don't you?
Yeah, I have like definitely wouldn't say I'm competing with Panavision or media, but like in Durban, just like a boutique rental, like company, there's like 2 rental companies in Durban, and a lot of the time, like, everything's booked up. So I started buying gear just for myself and my own shoots, and then started, like, trusting friends and, like, renting stuff out, and it almost just snowballed from there. And it's been really cool. It's become its own little, like, self-sustaining organism.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. And then, didn't you say, if you don't mind talking about this, didn't you say recently you got divorced? You got divorced recently?
Yeah. I wouldn't say recently. Maybe like about a year ago.
And all the new girls that you're speaking to at the moment, they're going, "What? You said it was like fucking ages ago." It was yesterday. I got divorced yesterday.
I'm actually still married.
I'm still married. I haven't signed the papers. But how do you feel like where you are now? Because we always talk about life and stuff. Like, how you feeling like where you are right now? Because you haven't got a kid or anything like that, have you?
No. And it's also like my wife and myself, or ex-wife and myself. She was like, we worked together. We actually started a production company, did really well, and complemented each other's skills. Like, she is amazing at everything I suck at, and vice versa. So it was really cool in that sense. And then also delving into the realm of like, okay, cool, we obviously both don't have each other's support. And it's cool. Then you almost like, for me at least, like, I felt I was like, cool, I actually have to learn those skills, and I have to grow beyond that, because I still, for the most part,
you rely on somebody as well sometimes.
And in Durban, the industry is like, to specialize in something, it's possible, but a lot of the time you have to be like we did end-to-end production. So we'll take a concept and then do everything up to, like, delivering to broadcaster kind of thing. So just production planning, where I'm like, Excel spreadsheets kill me.
No, exactly, dude.
And then when you get to a point where you're like, this is pretty fun, actually, and
I haven't got there yet. I haven't got there. I'm just fuck.
If you don't have to, I don't recommend it. I wouldn't want to get my 10,000 hours in it, but I get I do understand.
10,000 hours on spreadsheets. That's what I'm waiting for in life.
That's a whole new level of boredom. But it's really cool from the point where I was like, okay, all this planning, I now see how it's orchestrated and rolls out on the set, where I'm not just like worrying about gear getting to set on time and what gear we're going to use and how we're going to shoot it and how we're going to rig things where there's nothing to rig things. It's like that holistic understanding. Everything was just really cool. So I don't know, I guess like I always try to solve problems. Like I don't like.
I like the problem solving sort of aspect. I think that's when the producer of me comes out more, where I'm trying to, like, even when I'm writing, I'm thinking about safety, I'm thinking about stunts, I'm thinking about how we can get this for cheaper, how we can do this for cheaper, how we can, you know, and that, I think it's you know, it's a good trick to have up your sleeve. For, you know, not overthinking, but overlooking everything twice, 3 times, just so you can pull off what you're trying to pull off for the cheapest amount. Because when we do independent stuff and low budget filmmaking, you know, you want to try your best to try and put everything like on that screen and get that production value.
When you don't want anyone to look at it and go like, oh, this is a bit of a low budget one, you know. So you really, and that's awesome. I love that side as well. You're like, okay, here's a problem. This is where we actually get creative as we can be to get it like, and also like not to discredit the hardships of divorce. But there was many times I was like, cool, this sucks, but like, what am I going to do? Just like sit around and cry forever? Like maybe that would have made a cool movie. And I could write a book about the man who cried forever.
The man who cried forever.
He's still
crying.
He
walked out again. He did it again.
He's working out.
He's working out again.
So like not to discredit the hardships, but there was a lot of things where I was like, almost like the creative side of me was like, how do we like, and myself and like a lot of the crew that I worked with, because having the production company together with my wife, like there was a lot of people we supported in many ways, like a lot of crew, and I was like, I can't let them down. I want to keep things going to keep them going. So to get creative and start solving things not only in the work world but also in like, you know, personal life. I'm got some problems. How do I fix this? You know, there's a weird excitement that comes with it if you allow.
I once bought I once got from my ex-girlfriend, because the relationship was going down. I got a cat. I got Kitty. And I was like, oh, you know, it's like having the baby. It's like, oh, this might fix things. And then when we broke up, I was like, Kitty is fucking mine. You're not taking this cat. And then luckily, I got the child. I got custody, so it was all right. But this is the thing. It's, you know, when it comes to marriage or girlfriends or whatever, it's like, you know, not everything. Sometimes things last forever, and then other times, you know, it doesn't have to be like a messy divorce. And sometimes it is a messy divorce or a messy breakup, but this shit happens. It happens to fucking everybody. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, we can go through, you know, pain and all that stuff, but it's, I guess when it happens, it's like, it's always kind of for the best or sometimes you outgrow each other, you know? Yeah.
There's like so many scenarios, and I think it's, I mean, from like mine, like was very, what's the right word? Amicable, like very chilled in many ways, and like, being in the industry together, we actually ended up working on a project together and like spending a lot of time together and still making jokes and still laughing. So it was like...
It turns out like a mate, more of a friend. In that sense.
And that's when you're like, okay, cool, this was like for the right thing, you know? Like, it's not that you're a bad person, not that I'm a bad person. It's just like, there was something that wasn't working as much as we tried and wanted to work. It's okay, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I'm very fortunate in many ways, because I've heard some other stories where I'm like, wow, that's
me too.
horror stories.
And your friend that his girlfriend would attack him with a hammer and shit like that, and I'm like, it's got like stitches. I'm like, dude, that's fucking nuts, dude. That's like, you're like, you got to get out. Like, she's gonna end up like fucking killing you, you know, like by mistake, and she's gonna go down for murder and shit like that, you know.
But I love her.
Goes, but she doesn't love you, mate, or she loves you to death. That nobody else can fucking have you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm stoked I never had anyone love me to death before. But
it'll happen. You still got time.
Yeah. We'll see what the future holds. The whole relationship thing, it's the same as like even in the industry. Like, you live and you learn, and there's projects that everyone has that they're not going to show anyone, you know. But you live and you learn, and like you just better your life, like that's kind of thing. Like, so
you push forward.
Yeah, so even in the industry, and I think that's part of like really looking at Cape Town seriously now. Where I'm like, I want to grow my skills and work with people where I'm like, cool, they're way above my league. Or even if it's not like that, I'm like, I would have done something this way, they would have lit a scene that way. I can always just add to my toolbox. So it's not about like, you know, essentially like feeling like people are better than you and everything is unreachable. It's just like learning more. You know,
it's
learning
more.
different.
I mean, that's one saying you could light a scene a certain way and somebody else could light a scene, and then you want to know why they lit the scene like this, or you know, how they lit the scene like this. And I thought, I never looked at it in that way. Or, you know, there's a clever thing how, you know, to light a certain way to get a certain effect, and you're like, fuck, that's actually pretty cool. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like to find people that you gel with that are willing to talk about that, because I find in our industry a lot of people are like, these are my secret tricks, no one must know.
Dude, there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that in the industry. And it's like, these are my tricks, these are my trades, and nobody's gonna, you know. And that's the thing. It's, you know, it's like people like Tarantino. He borrows everything from fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you know, yes, some people, you know, we have our certain styles and this and that, and some people can't replicate them anyway, even if they try. And then the other thing is, it's also like, before you did it, somebody else fucking did it before you anyway. So it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you know, you shoot something with a turntable or something like this, and then somebody else shoots something on a turntable, and they're going, they're just doing what I'm doing. And I was like, dude, it's a fucking turntable. You didn't invent the turntable. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's also like the creative solution problem solving. I'm like, cool, everyone's shooting on turntables now. How can I do something better and different, you know? And if people copy, that's like, for me, that's the best compliment. I'm like, awesome, copy me, because maybe you can do something with what I like put the foundation in, and then you can come back to me and almost show me how I can better what I did. And there's not enough like learning and growing. There's a lot of like
I remember years ago there was I shot a video for Honor Carstens, and there's this black and white video, and they're sitting at this dinner table and they're eating all this food, and then this other video came out like a few years later or something, and it was basically the same fucking thing that I did. So whether they you know, looked at it and took the references, but there was like many shots that was the same and shit like that, and then people were ripping into it, but I was just like, oh, dude, it's like, aren't you pissed off? And I'm like, no. And it's like, it's like, you know, it's a compliment. They're trying to do they're trying to do what I did. I don't think they did it as good as what I did personally, but it's a compliment. I mean, and again, they were learning and progressing, and that's cool. It's a compliment. Yeah.
It's there's an artist I've been really into lately called Oliver Tree, and he like, not one for one, but it's so blatant. Like, he stole another band's song. I think the song's called Miss You. And I was like, no ways, maybe he did a bit of a cover. I listened to the original and I was like, oh, he stole this blatantly. And they didn't like do the regular thing of get offended, take him to court and all that. They got cheeky with it, and they just took one of his songs and re-recorded it and put it on their next album. And I was genius, you know. There's not enough like fun and play, and everyone's all like, oh,
getting offended. Yeah. We live in the generation of people getting offended with fucking everything. But anyway, dude, thank you so much for chatting. It was cool.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. It was cool just to chat shit and stuff like that. But we'll catch up soon, and keep working out, man.
Yeah, we'll go work out right now. Cool. Thanks so much.
Wow. Fishes!